Hello, hello, boys and girls. It's time for another exciting episode of Ask Us Anything. Bahir and Uma with you as always, and we've got a whole bunch of great questions this week. But before we get into all of these questions, Bahir, I have a short rant.
Okay.
And this is a rant about any and all Superman content you, me, or the rest of the world might choose to post anywhere on the internet. I feel like this is unique to DC/Superman content because obviously we also post a lot of Marvel content whenever a Marvel movie comes out, and somehow there just doesn't seem to be as many bots. For some reason, the forces behind the Snyder Bros have mobilized a lot more bots. It's amazing. Out of the crevices, out of the woodwork, there are so many faceless, postless, commentless accounts that suddenly show up and start making noise. And I have no idea where these farms are or what they still stand to gain from it. Like, I realized that back in the day, maybe they had reasons. Maybe they wanted to get that fucking Snyder Cut released. But now, what's the point? Are you making money? Like, why?
On Twitter, it's only because you're making money.
But how are you even making money on Twitter these days?
That's how you can make money on Twitter, which is sign up for I don't know what they're called, blue tick, official Twitter account, whatever you want to fucking call it. Basically, give Elon Musk your money, pay a monthly subscription, and then the Twitter thing, I'm still calling it Twitter because I refuse to acknowledge Elon Musk's X stupidity, but they pay you for engagement. There is now a financial reason to have the dumbest takes in the world. There is now an actual, official, formal financial reason for you to be a fucking troll. You know that clip from What We Do in the Shadows about that demon who farms hate online? That is now financially viable.
I mean, it's what James Gunn was making fun of in the movie, right? With the typing brainwashed monkeys.
Yes.
And that's essentially what this is. I mean, there are a bunch of real brainwashed monkeys who comment as well, which is quite funny because it feels like the bots rub off on these incels in some way. And I call them incels because the language that they use seem to ape, no pun intended, that of the group of incels.
They're incel adjacent.
They are incel adjacent, right? And it's always conversations about wokeness, etc., and all of that stuff. And I find that particularly hilarious because obviously a lot of our posts end up going to people within this country or this region. And what I find really funny is when some brown motherfucker talks about wokeness being bad. And I'm like, wait, you brown, stupid ass motherfucker. Wokeness has benefited us. If it wasn't for what you call in inverted commas wokeness, you wouldn't have a fucking voice, you stupid shit.
I also find any attempt to get my guns going when somebody asks if I think the new Superman movie is woke, I find that question completely flawed and is actually an indication of the person asking it. Because Superman has been that guy since the 1930s.
Correct.
So, if anything, this is a return to the original Superman and not the previously seen Zack Snyder version. But also, what does woke even mean, right? Like, is the argument that this Superman is woke because he stopped a war? Is that what being woke is?
Wait, hold on. Because by any definition of woke, the Zack Snyder Superman is woke as well.
I was asking someone, like, is Superman stopping an actual war between two nations woke, but Zack Snyder killing Zod because Zod was threatening to kill 3 civilians not woke? It seems like a dumb way to start.
But for me, you shouldn't be taking your cues from the worst people on the internet. And I literally mean the worst people on the internet, right? And sometimes these people aren't even true believers. They are doing it because, like you said, the best way to make money is to farm out rage. And so they are doing it for a capitalist purpose. Fox News does what they do for a capitalist purpose. It's not like these people are true believers in what they write on the internet. And maybe you should stop to think who you're taking your cues from. But I have a very simple philosophy. I literally just block and ban. I have no problem doing it because these people aren't real. They're not even followers that I would want on Goggler, even if they are following us on Goggler. And I block and ban. And you know what I love? I love what I read recently, that Prime Video is doing the same thing. Did you see this, Bahir?
No.
The Summer I Turned Pretty returns for its final season. And I think in the past, the TV show has gotten a lot of shit on the internet, or people have been especially mean on the internet. And Prime Video put out a post saying, this is a space for kindness. If you talk shit, you will be blocked and banned.
Nice.
And I'm like, yes, you need to protect your actors, because a lot of these studios and companies don't do enough, and they just kind of sit back and let the people who work for them take unnecessary abuse from fucking assholes.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the actors sort of don't want to block and ban because they don't want that to come around and bite them in the ass when a channel says, hey, why are you blocking and banning members of the public?
And also, this is the problem, right? This is a problem because it is some stupid ass thing that was crafted by some stupid ass PR agency about how you should engage with everyone and not block and ban anyone. And I think that was an error from the get-go, because all that did was say that, hey, your toxic behavior is encouraged. Like, if you have a child who behaved like that, you would punish that child.
Yeah.
And say, listen, this is not how you behave in a polite society. Take a time out, right?
Yeah.
Which is essentially blocking someone. Take a fucking time out. Scream into a corner if you need to. But it's all because of some comms agency or some PR executive who thought that might be a good idea, who had absolutely no foresight as to what social media would become and the kind of toxicity it would breed. So, fuck all of that bullshit. It doesn't mean anything. And I think this goes for individuals too, not just corporations or actors. Your feed is your own private personal space. Make it your own. If anyone's causing you trouble, fuck them.
Yeah, I completely agree.
All right, rant over. Let's get to the first question. This one is from Imius, and it's not something that we've actually addressed, but it's a very interesting question. Why do you think studios still release movies during a packed summer? I understand the need for alternatives, but people only have limited funds, and a weekly movie release of big movies becomes prohibitive. Why do you think they still insist on having movies released at this time?
It's an easy question. It's an easy question once you think about it.
It's an easy question as soon as you think about it from an American context.
Yes.
All of this has to be seen in an American context because we are slaves to the American Hollywood release schedule. So the idea of summer blockbusters started in 1975 with Jaws. It was the very first summer blockbuster. It's called a blockbuster because people were lining up around the block, busting blocks to get tickets to go and see this movie, in particular Jaws. And then after 1977, when Star Wars did the exact same thing, it became a whole thing. Side note, Jaws at 50 is a documentary that's available to watch on Disney+. You have to go and check it out. It is a brilliant, definitive piece on the history of Jaws. Okay, moving on. In America, this makes total sense. School's out during the summer, which means all these people have more free time. It is hot during the summer. People want air conditioning. There is good weather as well, being hot. It's not winter and miserable outside, so people actually want to go out and leave their house. And because of all of these things happening over the summertime, because you got to remember, in white people countries, summertime is the only time they are happy. The rest of the year, they are pretty miserable during winter. And so when they are happy, brands, restaurants, all of these people want to get in on the action and do partnerships and deals, and it's become this whole marketing machine. Yes, it is an established tradition and therefore a self-fulfilling cycle, but it's something that's happened since the 1970s, and so it just keeps happening because now psychologically people are like, oh man, it's the summer, there's going to be all these cool shit going on in the movies and McDonald's.
the US summer blockbuster season is 100 days between the end of May and early September. That is the Memorial Day weekend until Labor Day weekend.
Correct.
So during that 100-day period, there will be a lot of 3-day weekends, which
more
most
public
movies want to
holidays.
take advantage of, right? Because people are not at the office.
I
Sure,
forgot
a lot
about
of people
that.
take time off.
Yeah.
But when a Friday is a public holiday or a Monday is a public holiday, there'll be more people at the cinema. Yes, it's self-fulfilling, but also there is an actual physical reason for that period to be that period, I think. So, yeah, I mean, the rest of the world take a mid-year break. We've got school holidays up the wazoo, middle of the year. So it's kind of why the summer blockbuster season has become the summer blockbuster season.
There are exceptions with regards to this, like Avatar, Dune, Barbie. Sometimes spring can be a good release date when they want to avoid that sort of competition. So those movies are like one-offs that really stand out. Avatar has kind of settled into the Christmas holiday period, but the Christmas holiday period is a risky time. There are lots of family movies that come out at that time, but I say risky because people go home for the holidays, as in they balik kampung, and sometimes they don't necessarily watch movies because they spend time with family, and so it's risky lah, in the sense that unless it's an Avatar which has this compelling brand for some reason that everybody really wants to watch, it is a risk releasing movie in December.
Harry Potter and I think Lord of the Rings was a end of the year release, right?
I think it was, yeah.
So aside from just the summer blockbuster movie thing, there's also these sort of unofficial, I wouldn't call them rules, but unofficial periods as to when you release your movie, depending on what your movie is, right? Summer tends to be fun, blockbuster, big actioners, that kind of 4-quadrant movies. Obviously, once you start hitting late September sometimes, but early October definitely is the horror season, into potentially early November. November is Thanksgiving period, so if you've got a Thanksgiving themed movie, that's when you want to do it. The last couple of years, Hallmark have been releasing Christmas movies up till October, ironically, funnily enough. So, but that's not particularly a cinematic release, so that's fine. Then there are the award season periods, and that tends to be end of the year, early the following year.
Well, from about October, November also.
Yeah. So that's generally when most of the international film festivals have ended. So they've all done their big premiere. But they also want to come out during that period because they want to almost be top of mind when the Academy nominations come around. So they want people to be thinking of the last movie they saw. Oh, wait, it was that thing I saw from A24, or that thing I saw from Netflix or Apple TV or whatever, right? So it depends on how you want to play with your release. It depends on what movie you're releasing and what you're hoping to do with it.
And then, of course, early in the year are the movie dump times. January, February, they kind of dump releases,
That's
or they
the
release
garbage
smaller movies. And there's a psychological reason for that as well. It's January. People have spent all of their money in December. People are depressed sometimes at the start of a new year. They're also depressed because it's incredibly gloomy and cold in a lot of these countries at that time. Yep. And they don't want to leave the house and they don't want to spend any more money. And so it's very rare that a January release is going to make $500 million.
Studios generally don't release those kinds of movies that period. It's the dump period, right? It's the time you release the movies that you're contractually obligated to release in the cinema.
Exactly.
Probably in 3 halls in some corner of California somewhere.
Occasionally, you may release some experimental thing as well, just to see how it plays out. Mickey 17, for example. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it works because there's nothing else to watch, that this one shining movie makes money during that period. But
yeah,
to answer your question, Imi, there are a lot of reasons and they are well-established factors, and there is good reason as well as to why they haven't really broken away from that. Yes, the calendar is slightly shifting, and you can see that with companies like Marvel and whatever the DC schedule is going to be, but there is a reason Superman is a July movie. And I don't think that's going to shift anytime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Thank you for your question. We're starting and we're ending today with a question from Emi, so we're going to come back to him at the end of this episode. But next question, Bahir.
Brandon Ho Sheng Ven asks, with I Know What You Did Last Summer coming out this week, have you seen the other sequels to the series? I Still Know What You Did Last Summer and I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. And what are your thoughts on those sequels?
I've seen them both.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. I thought you said you didn't see the I'll Always Know What You Did.
I thought I hadn't seen I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, but I have because someone reminded me of a zombie fisherman. Yes, they went there.
What?
And it was really, really stupid. It is also non-canon because I think it was direct-to-video, and this new movie is kind of a spiritual sequel to the second film. Also, the second movie wasn't written by Kevin Williamson. It was just farmed out to other people as well. And the second movie wasn't as great either. Like, the first movie is by no means a masterpiece, but it is a classic. And I think it has earned the classic title. It is definitely worth your time and worth watching. But everything that has come after it, the new movie included, is toilet water. It is shit. It is garbage. It is so bad. This new movie, oh my god, it made me so angry. Actually, I take that back. I'm not really angry because I don't care enough to be angry, but I was angry while I was sitting there going, seriously? Did no one read through the script? Like, what is going on?
I know I've seen the sequel, but I haven't seen the direct-to-video one. I have no memory of the sequel, but I remember watching that first one. It was the right time for it, I think, 1997, right? It
Yes,
had the
totally.
right cast for it. You're right. It's not going to be remembered too fondly. It's not going to be remembered in the same breath as something like Scream or any of the other classic slasher movies that sort of escape me at the moment. But there was enough within that story that it deserved to be what it has become.
Brandon, I don't know if you know, but there was also an Amazon Prime series, which I think was just a remake, but in series form. That I haven't seen. So I have no idea if that was any good. But it was just an 8-episode series.
It was cancelled after one season, so
There you
obviously
go.
not that. Yeah.
Yeah. But don't waste your time with the new one. That's what we're saying. At Chest asks, why did LPF cut the last scene of Lois Lane and Superman? Have you guys seen it? I heard the cinematography was great, and James Gunn even shared a post from that scene highlighting their chemistry. So there were actually 2 scenes that were cut from Superman. They were making out in the kitchen when Lois enters the apartment and sees Clark there. And then there is the final scene towards the end of the movie, which we see in the trailer, where they're kissing while he's flying up in the air.
There is actually a third cut.
What's the third cut?
Green Lantern's middle finger.
Oh yes, when Green Lantern is flipping the tanks with the ring, actually it's not just his hand flipping the tanks, he's flipping the tanks and giving them the middle finger.
Yes.
I don't think the middle finger scene was cut in India, I'm not sure. But I know in India as well, their censorship board cut the kissing scenes for being too sensual. I've seen the first one because that was part of the 30 minutes that they showed us in Manila when we had a preview screening. I will agree that it is pretty sexy.
Right.
So it isn't just a peck on the lips. They really kind of make out. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I say that's kind of cool because superhero movies are so sexless.
Yes.
Like the Marvel movies have no sensuality at all, that it's almost unbelievable, Labahe, that people who look that good and have that many powers are not getting any.
And wearing those tight clothes.
Exactly.
We've spoken about this, or maybe did you write about it, about how, or maybe somebody else wrote about it, about how strange it is that the MCU is completely sexless.
I think we've spoken about it on an episode back in the day. And this is what's going to be interesting about Fantastic Four, right? Because obviously Reed and Sue are married, and if you've seen the trailer, she's pregnant. So clearly they've had sex, people. Superheroes do have sex.
This isn't a Dick Van Dyke Show situation where the beds are together.
Correct.
Anyway, sorry.
And it'll be interesting how they portray that sensuality on screen.
Well, to be fair, hang on. She's already pregnant, so obviously the sensuality has happened off screen.
It has.
Prior to minute 0 of the movie starting.
Sure, it has. But in Marvel movies, there aren't many boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife situations. And so I think this will be the first time that we see an established relationship, like a proper established relationship in that way. Because even Tony and Pepper, it's just a by the by, right?
Yeah.
Back to Superman. Yes, the cuts are stupid and unnecessary. But if you were to explain why, I totally understand why. In that, when it comes to movies that are primarily for kids and that they want a more general rating for, the LPF takes a harder stand. And I'm comparing that to I Know What You Did Last Summer, which we just saw as well, which has an 18 rating, and there is kissing, there is simulated sex, someone takes off their top and they're in a bra, they ask to be choked. All of this stuff is in the film and it is not cut. But of course, that has an 18 rating.
It's also worth noting that, yes, Superman has a 13 rating, but that just means that anybody younger than 13 can go in, but with a parent. 13 is the minimum age for someone to go without a parent.
Yes, and also 13 is the lowest rating that's available in Malaysia for some reason. They don't have like a G or an all-access type thing, right?
Yes, people are aggrieved by it, but I think, you know, it's okay lah. Yeah, just like, it's okay lah.
However, I do have to say this.
Sure.
Governments do this in response to the public, mind you. So
Yeah.
you and I may have a problem with this, but actually, the people's minds that we need to change are those of parents. And the government is doing this because, let me tell you, there are enough assholes out there who will complain, who have an incredibly conservative approach to parenting and will get upset if their child witnesses this on screen on, oh my god, it's a children's movie, how dare they? We don't kiss at home, not in front of the children.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be working on parents. I've seen enough of that shit online to know that a lot of the time LPF reacts this way because they just don't want the hassle.
Yeah.
Because if a parent complains to the cinema or posts it online, they will be forced to respond. Some minister will then go, oh my god, why didn't you cut the scene? Why aren't you doing your job? And then everyone gets into trouble, right?
Yeah.
So they take the more cautious approach. And of course, Warner doesn't want an older rating because, hell, they want kids to go watch this movie. And to answer your question, we haven't seen the very cool scene at the end either because we too have watched it in Malaysia.
Kailash Laxman asks, so I saw Superman last week and oh man, how good was that movie? It was very, very good. Kailash, where do you see the future of the DCU moving forward in terms of the projects or characters they should bring in? Do you think they should start laying down teasers for Darkseid already, or should they start with a Brainiac perhaps? Also, how good was Guy freaking Gardner in the Superman movie?
He was pretty good.
Guy Gardner was pretty good. He was a great asshole.
Yeah.
The future of the DCU, I think, can take its time. I'm happy for James Gunn to take, maybe cautious is not the right word, but I like that James Gunn is willing to cancel movies that are not ready. I think the MCU thing of setting in stone your schedule for the next 30 eons is stupid, because if a script is bad, you don't shoot the damn thing. As much as I want to see Mahershala Ali as Blade, it's okay. I'd rather not have that movie than have a bad Mahershala Ali Blade movie, right? So, do I think they should start teasing Darkseid? No, I don't think they should. I don't think they should start talking about Brainiac. I think the next DCU movie will be Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, or I think it's just called Supergirl now. And that's fine. We'll just do a Supergirl movie. I'm waiting for the Lanterns TV show and what that does to the universe. That's fine. I'm looking forward to a world where I do not know what the next DCU movie is.
I'm also looking forward to a world where not everything is interconnected.
And not everything has a big bad set out 20 movies ahead.
Which is why I absolutely loved all of Gunn's post-credit scenes in this one. You don't have to stay for them. They're cute post-credit scenes.
Yep.
which don't set anything up. They're just beautiful, funny, and there. Because Superman in itself is a very self-contained movie. There is one setup. But even that isn't a setup because I think it's a self-contained joke. And so you don't even have to see it as a setup. And I thought that was a very clever way to execute that.
Are we talking about Supergirl?
Yes, we are.
I actually don't think it's a setup because what our next question will show, that is a Supergirl we don't know. So I think that's actually a very important thing to have in the Superman movie.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Where do I see the future of the DCU? I don't know. And I like that. I like that I don't know. Well, I know what the next movie is. I don't know what the movie after that will be. And I like that.
So in interviews, James Gunn has said recently, Peacemaker, which comes out next month, is almost a direct follow-up to Superman. Obviously, it's a direct follow-up to season 1, but characters from Superman are now regulars in Peacemaker, including Flag, Hawkgirl, Guy Gardner, and it's going to respond to the events that we've seen in Superman. I think of that as how Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. responded to the events in the big Marvel movies without being directly tied into those events. And I thought that was pretty interesting as well, back in the day when Marvel did it. After that, we have Supergirl, and then we have Lanterns, and then there is a Clayface movie coming out next year as well. And Clayface is going to be apparently a straight-up horror film. And James Gunn's philosophy is if you take any 5 comic books, every artist and writer, even though they're all from DC, takes a completely different approach to those comic books. The tone is different, the themes are different, and that's how he's structuring his DCU as basically this platform or avenue to tell a variety of stories. I don't need 10 movies and then 20 movies that build up to one massive event at the end. Sure, if they do, it'll be fun as well. But at the same time, we've seen Marvel do it. I would like to see something different. And I think we're going to get that with the DCU. As for what characters should come in, I'm very happy with the lineup at the moment. I'm also happy to wait for another Batman movie, whether it's a Matt Reeves Batman movie. I don't need a Batman movie every 2 years. I would rather they get it right, because every time they've tried to do that, they fucked it up eventually.
It's the DC trying to do the Marvel thing, right? They're chasing Marvel's tail, so they rush all these things. Wonder Woman 1984 was terrible, which is weird because the first Wonder Woman was very, very good. It is that constant need to have something on the schedule next year, another thing on the schedule the year after that, without actually setting your first stone down properly.
Exactly.
So I'm happy with James Gunn taking his time. I'm happy if I don't get a DCU movie every year. If it means the next DCU movie, okay, so Supergirl's 2026, I'm happy if the next DCU movie is 2028. It's okay. Take your time. I've got my comics. I'll probably rewatch Lanterns, and it's okay. I'm happy.
At Sid Takyudin asks, Millie Alcock's Supergirl seems more interesting than previous on-screen iterations of the character, partying, swearing, anger issues. What are some recommended reading for this version of Supergirl?
There's only one.
There's only one. Well, actually, before we get to that one, there are a few which
Yes, there are
you
a few good
can
ones, yeah.
read if you want to know the character better. And so, like, for me, there is... In the 90s, I think it was Peter David that did a run called Being Super, which is a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, that was a good run.
And it was a fresh origin story for Supergirl. I think the new 52 Supergirl stories were really, really good as well. Because in New 52, Kara is a lot more complicated. She's a lot more aggressive.
And I love that backstory as to why she's aggressive. I think
Yes.
just the sort of elevator pitch here is that Kal-El was sent off planet from Krypton as a baby, whereas Kara grew up on Krypton and was sent away as a teenager. So Kal-El landed on Earth as a baby, grew up on Earth as a baby, whereas Kara has been in that ship as a teenager. So she's got Kryptonian upbringing and now knows for a fact that people that she's met and loved and grown up with have all died. So she's got a different, darker story setup, right? It's not that she turns out to be a villain, it's just that she's more angsty, a lot angrier. And I think The comic line that is being lifted to make the movie is called Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, where essentially, like in the movie, she's going off to different planets to get drunk and party and be angsty and angry and sweary.
That's an 8-issue limited run. So you can actually buy the collected version at Kinokuniya. Very easy to find. Fantastic read. It's written by Tom King. The art is by Bilquis Evely. And it is stunning. It is beautiful stuff. We highly recommend you read that. So even if you don't read the other stuff, just read Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King and Bilquis Evely.
If you're listening to this and you're excited to watch Millie Alcock's Supergirl, I think you should read the comic. Only because if you haven't picked up a comic in a very long time, you will realize what comics are now in the 21st century. Supergirl is very dark without it being Zack Snyder gritty. It is very emotional. It is very deep and painful and all these things that you never used to associate with a character in red skirts and blue tights.
That's a very good point, actually. It is a good way to show dark without being... without having a dark color palette.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, the Tom King comic is incredibly bright. It is beautiful. It is colorful. But at the same time, it is not light. And I think that's the key to it. So definitely read Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. It is really the only piece of required reading. And we highly recommend it because Tom King's a fantastic writer anyway. We got a question for you, Bahir. At Travesty asks, do you think releasing K-Pop Demon Hunters on Netflix instead of cinemas is perhaps one of the biggest missteps by Sony? I say for Bahir because I haven't watched it yet. I need to get around to doing it. It's on my list. But, shock of shock, my biggest surprise is when Bahir messages me and goes, dude, K-Pop Demon Hunters is fucking fantastic. You need to watch it. Now, this is a shock and surprise because of two things. One, it is anime adjacent, and it has the word K-pop in it, which are two things that Bahir dislikes and does not consume.
Yes.
So for him to say this is good shit means it's really good shit.
It was really very good. Whether or not Travesty, this was a misstep on Sony's part, I don't know. I think it may have done decently well in the cinema. You know what? I don't know. I don't know if it would have done decently well in the cinema. Because this isn't, like Uma set up, this isn't a movie I would have gone to the cinema to watch. I would not have paid money to watch this. Because it's already on my Netflix feed, I'd tune in, right? But I think the thing that people tend to forget is that marketing costs and advertising and promotions is expensive. You're spending, if not half your budget, your production budget, you're spending your entire production budget on just A&P. So whether or not this is a misstep, I don't know. I think being on Netflix is a safe thing. I think being on Netflix means that Sony gets the upfront money, Netflix gets some love for actually releasing a very good show. But I don't know if it's a misstep for Sony. The more I think about it, the more I think it's not a misstep. I think this was a safe play. I think this was guaranteed money. Whereas a cinema release, as we've seen, very good animated features don't do well in the cinema. Elio didn't do well.
But I will watch it, and then once I've watched it, I think Bahir and I will do a podcast review next week. I'll do it this weekend, for sure, because I've heard so many people say so many good things about this movie.
It's good. Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
All right, final question, Bahir.
Emilius asks, what are the most extravagant, surprising, or unique options you've seen in concession stands at the different cinemas you've been to? I haven't been to that many cinemas outside the country, so...
Oh, okay.
I didn't spend my time watching a movie in the cinema in the US.
I try to go see a movie in any country I go to.
Oh, I don't do that.
I'm always curious as to what the cinemas are like. Anyway, I can't say I've encountered many extravagant, surprising, or unique things. However, there are some boutique cinemas in the UK, and none of them are as boutique as, say, Aurum. I think Malaysia, Thailand have really cornered the market on luxury cinemas. But I will say this. The food there is always better. Like, Aurum over here makes big noise about being able to get meals, but the food's average. The chicken wings are chicken wings. You're not going to write home about those chicken wings, right?
They're not even good chicken wings.
They're not even good chicken wings. You're not going to be screaming from the rooftops about those chicken wings. I've been to a couple of boutique cinemas in the UK where they've had some really good food. And what's interesting about those cinemas, which no one here seems to have fucking picked up on, is you need to find a way to transform that food into something that customers can eat while sitting in a cinema seat.
Yeah.
I know you have a table, but when you're watching a movie, leaning over in the dark to use your fork and knife to cut something doesn't work for me because I'm not watching what is happening on screen.
Also, I do not want to hear clanking of cutlery.
That too. So in these cinemas, for example, there's a place called the Electric Cinema in the UK. They had bangers and mash, which came in a cardboard Chinese takeaway type box, and a fork, and a plastic spork. The gravy was on it, everything was self-contained, you could eat it with just two hands, like one hand holding it, one hand dishing it into your mouth. Everything worked, it wasn't too much of a stretch, you didn't have to lean over a table, you could eat it in the dark. I think that's key. And all of the food offered at that cinema took that approach. It also wasn't loud foods, which is the other problem, right? Because if you're eating something crunchy, I'm a polite person. Sometimes I wait until it's really noisy on screen before I crunch down. I don't want everyone to hear me going harp, harp, harp the whole time.
But also, I don't want to hear it. Like, I don't want to hear myself crunching away.
Yes, that too. Now, the most unique thing I have seen, and I wish someone would fucking bring it here, are those Coke machines, motherfucker. The Coke machines in America. Like, we had it for a brief moment at MBO in Atria. But even that was a pale example. In America, you can mix drinks like nobody's business. Like, you can have Coke or Coke Zero or Diet Coke, and then you can do mango or cherry or apple. You can just have all of these crazy ass combinations.
To be fair, I don't need a cinema to do that. I just want that around someone.
Someone
I just
needs to
want
do
someone
it.
to do it. Like,
Yes.
Nando's, you've got those machines in your restaurants. Stick in a couple extra flavors in there. Come on.
And it's not just Coke, Fanta. They have all these options in this one giant machine. It's like magic.
For me, I think this is probably like the dumbest take, but I went to a small cinema in Oxford when I was there in 2011, 2012, 2010. And I was very shocked and surprised that the cinema had alcohol. Like, to me, that was wild. Not because I abhorred it, not because I was against the idea of alcohol in cinemas, but up to that point, I had seen a movie in Leicester Square in London, but though chains won't have alcohol, the smaller boutique/independent cinemas would just have a beer machine in the back, or they would have a bartender at a small bar. And I think that's cool. I like that. The one I think is the dumbest concession idea was it Daddy who tried to do the hot pot thing?
Is that still a thing?
I don't know if it's still a thing. I don't know if it was just a one-time thing, but that has to be the dumbest concession thing.
I'm pretty sure that wins an award for being the dumbest.
That cinema is going to smell terrible.
Also, just go to a fucking hot pot restaurant lah.
Yeah.
Go to a hot pot restaurant either before or after your movie. It doesn't have to be while you are watching a goddamn film.
It's also just the people who put that together thinking that that was a good idea. You're a cinema. You don't have to entertain these people constantly all the time, all the ways.
Yes, you have the easiest job. When people buy tickets, they're already ready to be entertained.
Nobody's there because you've got hot pot.
Your biggest task is to convince them to buy a ticket to watch the movie, not to buy a ticket to eat your stupid hot pot. And also, here's the thing. It's not going to be the greatest hot pot, right?
It's not going to be great hot pot.
It's going to be middling either way.
Yeah.
Fire that PR agency. Just fire the agency that came up with that idea.
Actually, the biggest, most surprising thing I've seen in a cinema is in the UK, where you can bring your own snacks.
That is surprising.
One of the chains, I don't remember which one, allows you to bring in your own snacks. So
They just don't want to stock stuff lah.
no, they had stuff as well, but people brought their own popcorn, they brought their own chocolate, so you don't have to sneak them in your bag. So I think that I found the most surprising, I think.
For me, the one thing I hope they would change over here is even with the luxury cinemas that we have in Malaysia, come up with better ways and better ideas for your food and your food delivery systems. I mean, sure, cinema service is great, but it's great in principle. I hate the idea of people walking past me and then blocking my view of the screen while they lean over to give someone their food or their bag of food. It just gets in the way and completely ruins the experience for me.
Yeah.
That brings us to the end of yet another exciting episode of Ask Us Anything. Keep your questions coming in. You know how to do that. All you have to do is drop us a line. We're on Instagram on GogglerMY. You can also email us on podcast@goggler.my or send us a WhatsApp on the Goggler hotline 012-524-5208. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Goggler Podcast.